We share a deep craving for wholeness, yet our day-to-day experience shatters into psychological fragmentation, leaving the mind split by opposing desires. This fracture occurs because the ego isolates human traits and distorts them. Power is defined strictly as the capacity to dominate, control an environment, and acquire status. Gentleness is similarly isolated, reduced to a form of passivity or a symptom of emotional fragility. Even beauty is commodified, treated as an external property of an object to be judged against a standard and eventually owned. These traits, when separated, become destructive. Power without gentleness hardens into tyranny, while gentleness without power collapses into dependency. This friction originates in the psychological I, the ego. It spends energy acquiring power, avoiding the stigma of weakness, and possessing beauty as its own. In his personal notebook, the philosopher J. Krishnamurti recorded a sudden state where these traits merged into a single presence. He wrote, "In the evening it was there, suddenly it was there, filling the room, a great sense of beauty, power, and gentleness." Defining reality through the lens of a divided ego ensures continued suffering. Ending that conflict requires an investigation into how these three traits exist as a unified state of being. Healing this fragmentation requires an examination of the observer or controller, the internal mechanism that creates the division in the first place. The mind typically divides itself into two entities, the controller making the decisions, and the controlled emotions or thoughts. We tell ourselves that I must control my anger or my fear. In reality, the controller and the controlled are the same structure, built of memory and conditioning. The sage Ramana Maharshi identified this core illusion as the I thought. Recognizing this allows for choiceless awareness, which is the act of observing the mind's movements without judgment or the desire to alter what is appearing. This observation releases the energy previously consumed by inner conflict. When one thought is no longer attempting to dominate another, the mind's resources are conserved for direct perception. The mind falls naturally silent when the entity creating the internal opposition, the imagined controller, is seen through as an illusion. In this silence, beauty, power, and gentleness emerge as the underlying nature of existence, rather than as traits to be achieved. Beauty shifts from a subjective judgment to a state of undivided perception. There is no longer an I that finds something beautiful. There is simply beauty, and all things appear within it. Power transforms from a tool of domination into the dynamic energy of a mind free from internal struggle. Gentleness becomes the natural, non-resistant expression of that energy. It is the strength of undivided perception. These traits are mutual correctives. Power prevents gentleness from becoming passivity, and gentleness prevents power from becoming harsh. Beauty stabilizes this relationship. Without the ego, the three traits lock into a state of wholeness. These three traits describe a single condition of wholeness that becomes evident the moment the ego steps out of the way. This state of non-dual awareness is distinct from emotional numbness or withdrawal from life. Practical intelligence, memory, and the body remain fully available. They function as a tuned instrument, used when needed for responsibilities, but quiet when thought is unnecessary. Traditional texts call this lila, or the play of consciousness. The individual participates in relationships and society without being psychologically trapped in the role. The result is equanimity, inner steadiness amid changing external conditions. The mind interacts with the world's fluctuations without being inwardly destroyed by fear or comparison. True self-mastery occurs when the illusion of the ego dissolves, allowing beauty, power, and gentleness to naturally fill the field of experience.